It's called acting. Dean Cain takes Hollywood jumping on the woke bandwagon apart in spot on interview. So Dean Cain is someone that has talked about this type of stuff many a time in the past, and he's always done a fantastic job of really analyzing some of the issues that are going on in Hollywood and how Hollywood is continuing to have such a negative impact on our culture as a whole. And of course, the people in Hollywood continue to pretend that they are the moral elites of our society, that they are the ones that we should be looking to for moral guidance, which nothing could be further from the truth. The people in Hollywood engage in horrible debauchery. They are people who are depraved. They are people who continue to do just very terrible things, and they should absolutely not be people who we look to for our moral compass. But of course, Dean Cain knows this, and in this interview that he gives here, he completely just tears Hollywood apart, which is just really, really good. So we're going to go ahead and listen to this interview from Dean Cain. But Dean Cain knows a thing or two about Hollywood in this interview, where he speaks about their desperately hopping on the woke bandwagon is pretty damn good, especially the pieces about actors playing parts that aren't necessarily them. His point on Robert Downey Jr. playing an Aussie, playing a black man in Tropic Thunder, a hilarious movie, by the way, is perfect, which is a great movie. And I wish that we could get back to movies like that, where, you know, people actually find humor in things, like where people aren't always walking around with a stick up their butts and not actually even understanding the context of things, like in Tropic Thunder, what that character was supposed to be symbolizing, the character that Robert Downey Jr. played. So let's go ahead and take a look at the and listen to this interview from Dean Cain.
We have to cancel you. You played a bad person. We have to cancel you now. So yeah, this is the end. Cut the segment. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
I've never played a Japanese person, though, which is really odd, being of Asian descent. I once played a Hawaiian, but I wasn't from Hawaii, you know, in real life. So
Cancelled! He played a Hawaiian and he's not even from Hawaii. Cancelled! That is basically where we are at in today's day and age with cancel culture and with the woke identity politics, and it is insane. For some reason, SJWs continue to think that you have to be exactly like the person that you're playing. Unless you are a black person, in that case, you are able to play pretty much anything you want, which we are seeing more and more taking place, where, you know, black individuals are given roles that are, you know, traditionally for white characters and stuff, like Little Mermaid and Superman and whatever else. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that in isolation, but the problem is that we know exactly why Hollywood is doing it. They're doing it to mess with woke identity politics. They're doing it not so much because they really care about giving, you know, these roles to these people based on talent, but simply because they are of a darker skin color than other people, which is just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And it just goes to show that Hollywood really is still obsessed with race and racism and everything else. Like, just stop. Just stop making everything a racist issue. Stop making everything based on race, and just give roles to the people who deserve those roles. Give roles to people based on their talent and whether they're actually fit for that role. So anyway, that's just a tangent. Let's go ahead and continue on and listen here.
That's what it's getting down to, that these days, where you can't play anything. I mean, I thought Robert Downey Jr. Playing the Australian, playing the black guy in Tropic Thunder was one of the most brilliant things ever. It was because it was making fun of exactly that. But I don't think you could make Tropic Thunder today. And that was just about 5 minutes ago, and that's craziness. So I think people are, you know, they're trying to jump on this woke bandwagon, and they're trying to just make things to appease to people, but it's not going to work. That never does work. What works is somebody being edgy, being South Park, and going out there and poking fun at everybody.
And I've talked about that many times as well, right? Like, you can't please SJWs. You can never do anything that's enough to make them happy. They will never be satisfied. They will always look for the next thing to destroy. That is what SJWs do. That is what wokesters do. They will always look for more and more and more things to cancel, to destroy, to tear apart, to take down. And it's never going to be enough, which is why you shouldn't be trying to please and appease these people.
And getting that out there, I think that's much more effective. But there are people who have who, again, there are those decision makers here in Hollywood who decide, this is what we're going to have on, and it's all going to be about diversity now. So I want to have a person of color in every lead role or this or that. And that kind of stuff never works. It has to happen organically. It has to happen naturally. I understand the desire to have more people represented. I get it. But for someone to go and play a character who's LGBTQ and not be gay, I've done it. I think I have every right to do so as an act. It's called acting.
And of course, that is exactly what people like Scarlett Johansson have been canceled for by SJWs in the past, where she, who isn't, a trans person or anything else, she ends up playing a trans person in a movie. Well, she's an actress. That's what she's supposed to be doing. She isn't supposed to be playing herself in the movie. She isn't supposed to be playing just people that are like her in movies. She's supposed to be able to play all these different ranges of characters. That is what actors do. I mean, Andy Serkis played Gollum in Lord of the Rings. He isn't an actual hobbit-like creature that, eats raw fish and dwells by the river and stuff. Like, that's not what Andy Serkis is, but that's the character that he played in the movie. Another example, Andy Serkis is great, by the way. I love Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis played Caesar, the monkey, or not even the monkey, the ape in Planet of the Apes and stuff. And he isn't an ape. Andy Serkis isn't an ape, but he played that character because he was right for that role. He was perfect for that role. He did such an amazing job bringing that character to life. That's because he was fit for the role. So we need to get back to that for acting. We need to get back to that with Hollywood, with filmmaking in general, where instead of dabbling in all these race-obsessed ideologies and the wokeness and everything else, just get back to a point where you're trying to make movies based on the quality and based on who is right for the role, who is right for the writing and everything else. Actually try to create good stories once again. That would be kind of nice. And we need to get back to that. And that's not just Hollywood in general. That's just art in general here in our culture, where it's continuing to be overtaken and destroyed by the neo-Marxist ideology that is permeating from Hollywood and honestly destroying our culture as a whole. So with that being said, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. What do you think about what Dean Cain has to say here? I think he has some really good stuff to say, and I think that you all probably can relate to this and understand the frustration. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
With my heart's desire.